Hi there. Today we have another live session for Python programming. Yesterday we did how to make simple programs, right? With Deepak, and today we'll be doing few more things in Python. And we discussed few programs, and I told you to make some like finding these total and average marks of a student, and similar way to calculate the compound interest and the other formulas. I hope all of you have practiced those. What about Deepak? Have you practiced those questions?
Yes, I made a few programs like average marks of a student and also how to find the compound interest
Right.
uh, while we define the variables of principal, rate of interest, and the tenure of the loan.
That's good. So this is what you made for compound interest, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have done the sequential programs in Python till now. So these sequential programs are like where you take the input, process it, and provide the output. So that was our first class. Now we just want to, just go through again with some basic terms, and then we'll do the next thing today. So are you clear with the term variable?
Uh, yes, so we understood it yesterday. So variable is any set of data which we can change by defining what we want to enter in that. IT skills at the part of the basic accounting.
Okay. And what do you understand by the term keyword?
Keywords are like commands, like what we want to define, like input or print.
Mm-hmm.
So these kind of defined commands in Python are called keywords.
You are a bit correct, but yeah, there's one thing, the keywords, like as a beginner, you are getting the correct concept that input and print are the keywords, but actually, input and print are not the keywords, they are predefined functions. But yes, they have the similar kind of purpose. We have keywords which are already defined to the compiler. So when we talk about the translator, because these programs which we are writing, computer is not able to understand them directly. So we need a compiler which converts my program into the machine code, which is actually going to be understood by the computer. So that compiler have certain keywords, which
Okay.
is like, I know that if I'm going to write float, that means it's a data type with fractions. Then in future we'll be doing keywords like we do if, that means you need to check a condition. If I write while, that means I have to keep checking the condition till it becomes false. So certain words like that, those are called keywords, and we can't use the keywords for any other purpose. So the commands in Python can be given in two different ways, and those two different ways are, one is your keywords and the other is functions,
Okay.
right? So we can do the commands like that. Now what do we have next is, with what we have to do today is the data types. So what kind of data types we can use? We discussed this thing also a bit yesterday, that we can have numbers. Numbers can be of two types, that's integers and floats. That means the whole numbers and the numbers in fraction. And if you want to take something as a collection of characters, then it is said to be a string. So string is a collection of characters. Now what we are going to do today is, like, instead of sequential, if I have to make a program where I have to check conditions, so I need to check conditions, and if a condition is true, then only I'm supposed to do something. But if the condition is false, I'm not going to perform that thing. So if we are going to do something like that, that is called conditional program or sequential program. So we would be doing what these programs are. Now let's say in this question only, where we calculated the interest or we calculated the GST, if we had certain condition, like I say if the amount is less than 5,000, I have to calculate simple interest. But if the amount is more than 5,000, I have to calculate compound interest. Okay, let's say if we have a situation like that. So normally when we talk, what do we say? If this thing happens, then this thing should be done. Similar way, we're going to have it here. So if I need to check the condition, I'll use the keyword if, right? So if is the keyword, and if I tell you on the basis of color in PyCharm, you can see the word which comes in orange, that's your keyword.
Okay.
And these purple ones are your functions. So I'm going to write here, if the principal amount is less than 5,000, and then we give a colon. So you write the keyword if, you write a statement which is your condition, then you put a colon sign after that. Then as I press enter, you can see that the cursor is coming after an indent. So that indent indicates that you have to write that statement over here, which should be executed if the condition is true. If the condition is false, this statement will not be executed. So this is what we get here. Now if I calculate interest here with the help of simple interest, my formula would be principal into rate of interest into time upon 100. And I go back to the same level of if and write another keyword, that is else. Press enter, it's again tabbed, but what I want to put here is I want to use the same variable interest, and over here instead of printing compound interest, I can print interest is interest, like this. Now what is happening over here? If condition is true, then the interest is calculated as per this formula, which is the formula for simple interest. In case the condition is false, that means the principal is not less than 5,000, so it is going to go to the else part, and it will calculate interest as per this formula. Okay, so it's the same program, but we will get interest calculated in different ways depending upon the condition we have given.
So for the same variable interest, we are having two ways to calculate. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you also write here simple if principal is less than 5,000, then simple interest is equal to this, else compound interest is equal to this?
Yeah, very good question. I'll show you what happens in that case. Like if I'm going to run this right now, I enter certain values like 1,000, rate of interest is 5, and I deposit for 2 years. So I have simple interest, that's 100, right? If I run it again and say this time it is 10,000, and we have the same thing, rate of interest is 5 and 2. So it comes as 1025, whereas simple interest would have been just 1,000, right? So here now you're asking me if we would have given the different names. If I give the different names over here, say simple interest, and over here I give a different name, that would be compound interest. Now the problem would be I can't print interest over here because I was having a single statement to print. But if you want different names, then what you have to do is this statement has to be placed here, and then I need to write simple interest here, and similar way I have to write after a tab statement, so that I have to show that these two are indented, means these two will be executed if the condition is true. These two are indented, that means these would be executed if the condition is false. If in case by mistake you write it this way, like this is it, if by mistake you write like this, it's very important to understand this thing, the indentation. If you write like this, it's not going to give you an error. But what will happen, if this condition is true, it will show this as well as it will show this. But obviously the calculation would be wrong because this formula is not executed. So it will show 0 for compound interest, but it will execute both the statements. So indentation matters a lot. So you have to make sure that the statements which have to be executed under an if or else must be indented. Right? So indentation has to be taken care of. And now if you give, and then you can change the messages also, like you can make it as simple interest is, compound interest is, so that's up to you. But yeah, this is how we can get the interest. So output is the same, but it's up to you how do you write the program. This was quite technical and complicated. Let's take a very simple example. Now when we talk about if can be used in different ways. There's so many ways.
One question.
Yeah.
Here we have used two
Blocks.
conditions, like either if it's if it's less than 5,000,
Mm-hmm.
then what we have to do. If it's more than 5,000, what we have to do.
Yeah.
But for example, if we have three conditions, if it is
That's-
less than 5,000, but greater than first is less than 5,000, then we have another staggered block which is greater than 5,000 but less than 10,000, and the third condition is
I completely get
greater
you.
than 10,000.
Yeah, that is what I'm going to explain you now, that we can use if in different ways.
Mhm.
And those different ways are like, you can have multiple if statements, you can have if else, or we can have Elif ladder. So there are so many ways of
What's
using
that?
if. Elif ladder, you'll get to know when I'll explain you. So first of all, I'll be explaining you that how we use normal if statement. Okay. So how do we use normal if statement? So for that, I just create a new file and we go to file over here and I give like a name, say conditions. Okay, what is this? Cancel. Enter the new file name. I told it has to be a Python file. Didn't I select that? File, new, and this is a Python file. And the name is conditions. Okay. Now, first of all, let me tell you the syntax of if statement. So when you have to use if, there is one way where we write if condition colon, and then after a tab we write down any number of statements. Now, if there is no else, what happens is, if this condition is true, it will execute this block. If it's false, it won't execute the block. So either it will be done or it won't be done. If you know that your code has exactly two alternatives, if condition is true, you need to do this. If condition is false, you need to do something else. But there are only two options possible. There we go for if else. So we use if else and we give the statements which we just used, right? Now the question which you are asking, like if we have ranges, if we have
Yeah.
different conditions, let's take an example that we have that student marks and I want to print whether the student is pass or fail. So you want to read the percentage marks of the student. So I may read like percentage is equal to, percentage could be in points. So I write percentage is equal to enter marks. I get the marks from the user and then I check if percentage is greater than equal to 50. I want to print pass, else I want to print fail. So this is the if else thing. So either the condition would be true or false and we get a result. Now if I run this program, that is your conditions, and you enter some marks, I enter 89, so it says pass. Simple. If I enter something else, 23, it says fail. But that was the if else thing. Now I don't want this. I want to print the grades. I want if the student scores above 80, I have to print that you got HD, that is high distinction. Right, and now I don't need this because I have number of cases here. Now what I want is if percentage is
Okay.
greater than equal to, let's say 70, and percentage is less than equal to or less than 80, because for unequal to also it's high distinction. So if it is greater than equal to 70 and percentage is less than 80, so and is again a keyword, it's coming like this. So what we do over here is distinction. So we print distinction. Similar way, I can check more conditions. I can check if percentage is greater than equal to 60 and percentage is
Less than 7.
less than 70, then it's credit. So I print credit Then I give another condition, that is if percentage is greater than equal to 50 and percentage is less than 60, then I print pass, and in case it's less than 50, now remember you can't give else, yeah, but you can't give an else over here. If I give an else, what will happen? I'll just explain you. So this is a common mistake done by all new programmers, but we can't give that, and I'll explain you why. And this is like fail. Okay, so we have given so many conditions here. Now if you run this code and I enter 87, so 87 would be high distinction, right? I run this again and this time I enter 65, that should be credit, right? If I enter anything say 45, I get fail. So whatever condition matches, you get the answer accordingly, right? Now if let's say instead of this, I'm just going to copy this, instead of this you would have written else. There is no syntax error, it's fine. But if you execute it and you enter a value which is less than 50, you still get the correct answer. But what if you enter anything else? If I enter 76, I get two answers. It shows me distinction and it shows me fail. Now why this happened? Because whenever you give multiple ifs, they all are checked one by one. All are independent if statements. So if percentage is greater than equal to 80, it prints high distinctions, otherwise not. If this condition is true, it prints distinction, otherwise not. Now in case of 76, this was false, so this is ignored. This is true, so it prints distinction. This is false, so credit is ignored. This condition is false, so it goes to its else and prints fail. So this else is associated with the last if only. It has no relation with the other if statements. That's why we couldn't give else over here, right? So whenever you use independent if statements, we don't give an else there because each statement is independent of each other. If the respective condition is true, the statement gets executed. If the condition is false, the statement will not be executed. But we're not having else anywhere. Is it clear? Fine. So these are the two ways. One is if else, exact two alternatives. This one where we have all independent if statements. But don't you think we are wasting time of the system to check conditions unnecessarily? Because if the student has got 84 and the first condition is true and we've printed high distinction, why should my processor be checking rest of the conditions? Because I know that if one is true, the others are for sure going to be false. So I know that I have such a scenario where as soon as I get the first matching condition, I get the result. There is no need that I should check rest of the conditions. So in that case, the time of processor is simply being wasted. So there we use another structure of if, which is called Elif Ladder. What do we mean by that? Elif is basically a combination of else if. In other languages, when you code like C, C++ or Java, we write the complete thing else if. But in Python they have a short form, so just write elif. This means else if, and what do we mean by that? It means if this condition is false, then only this condition should be checked. So if the first condition is false, then only it will come here and check the second condition. If that one is false, then only it moves to the next one and checks the condition. If that is also false, it comes to the next one. As soon as it gets the matching one, it will stop checking further. So it will check only till you get a matching one. And this time, I don't need a condition. Yeah, we can use else. So now we don't need this condition. We can just put an else over here. And you can further reduce the code because we are checking, earlier we were checking that percentage is greater than equal to 80, so it's high distinction. Then percentage greater than equal to 70 and it must be less than 80. But now it's quite obvious that it is less than 80, that's why we are here. So if you don't give this, you still get the same answer. Similar way, I don't need to check this because I'm coming here only because the percentage is less than 70. So we don't need to confirm that. And similar way over here. So In such situations, Elif reduces your code, and still you're going to get the same result. If you run this and you enter 76, I get distinction. If you enter 56, you get pass. If you enter 63, it is credit. If you enter 12, it's fail. So we get exactly one result according to the condition satisfied. So this is Elif ladder. So wherever the condition is true, it will execute. If the condition is false, it will keep going further. And if all conditions are false, then the last else gets executed. Is it clear? Okay, you can try one program now. What you have to do is you have to input selling price and cost price of a product from the user. So you'll ask what is the selling price, what is the cost price. And you need to tell the user if there is profit, loss, or there is no profit, no loss situation. So we have three answers possible. If there is profit, you should tell how much profit he has made. If there is loss, you should tell how much loss he has incurred. And in case there is no profit, no loss, so just print a message. You want to try? Go ahead. You can make a new file.
Go to file.
Add file. Yeah, Python file. Then you can give profit, whatever name you want to give. That's fine. Go ahead. and you're supposed to put a colon after the condition.
Yeah.
Where you've written margin greater than 0. Yeah.
I think first time I have to run from here.
You can't write Elif over here.
Okay.
If not even else, because you have used independent if statements. If you want if margin is equal to 0.
Maybe first we run this, then we can understand how we can use.
But you can't run this until you have a red line in your code. So that red line means that you have a syntax error. If I have a syntax error, I can't execute my code. So you can try running. Click on the stop button and try to.
But I think this code. This is not correct. Here
Yeah,
we want to write.
that's why you have a red line. So you need to write the condition here.
Okay.
And a colon after the condition. And one more thing which you haven't done yet, but you must know, is that in Python, if you want to compare the equality, if you want to check if two values are same, we don't write single equal to, we have to write it twice. So the equality operator is 2 times equal to sign, which checks if two values are equal or not. Now the code is fine. So you have to, this is the previous one, conditions. So you have to stop this one. We don't have to run it. So click on that red button to stop. Yeah. And then from the run menu, you have to run again. So run, because you're going to run this program for the very first time. So select PNL, the last one. So good, you get profit is 20. Run again to check the other conditions. Yeah, you need to fix this. It's showing losses minus 20. So we should get losses 20. We'll fix it, but before that you can check for no profit, no loss. Just click there. So that's working perfectly fine. So just one thing is there, that we need to print the loss in the positive form. It's printing in negative because your margin is sale minus cost. So you can just put a minus sign in front of margin, as we do in maths. So if it is negative, it will make it positive. And we know for sure that it is negative. That's why we are here, because the condition is like that. Right? So very good. So you made it nicely. Now if I have to change this code to Elif Ladder, how would you write it? So this is independent if. If I need to change it to Elif.
First we'll check if the margin is greater than 0.
Right.
And then we'll print margin. Elif.
Yeah.
Here we write only, then it will move forward.
Yeah.
Elif margin is
less than 0.
Then
it prints the loss. That's fine.
And here we can write else.
Very good. So you just need to write else over here.
Else print, we don't need this then.
You don't need this.
Because
so we'll just have a colon, because else means that that is the only possible option left. Good. So if you run this, you get the same results.
Let's do it for.
It's not right. Yeah. Very good. So are you clear with giving the conditions like this?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. You want to try one more? Yeah. So let it be that we have to calculate, or yeah, I'll make a very simple one first. let's say you have to input the age of a person and name of the person, right? And what I need is, like, your program should ask enter the name, then enter the age. And if the person is above 18 or equal to 18, you have to print his name. For example, I entered Arav and the age is 23. So you have to print, congrats Arav, you are eligible to apply for a driving license. And in case the person's age is less than 18, so you have to say, like, Arav, you need to wait for some time to apply for a driving license.
Okay.
Something like that. Go ahead.
Okay. The age is not in integer, so instead of float we can write
Integer, float.
int.
Yeah, for int you need to write for integer, and if you want to take in points, you should write float. And one more round bracket. Perfect. So you need to check if the age is equal to or above 18. The person is eligible, otherwise not.
Eligibility is
18. But should we write like this? How do we check conditions?
if
Exactly. So, if is a statement, you can't initialize it to eligibility. So you have to write it this way, that we don't need this, right? If the condition is true, then you can write here what you want to do. That's right. Good.
I think we'll have to run it from here first.
Yeah. So it says, congrats, you're eligible for driving license, right? But if I have to show the name also, I want like, congrats, Arav, you're eligible for driving license.
Okay.
How should I do that?
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, that's fine. So that is how we will print the name as well. So now if you run, it will print congrats, name of the person, and you're eligible for the driving license. So that's how we can use the conditions. You want to try one more?
Here in the sorry statement,
Yeah.
I want to add sorry. You have to wait for
How many years?
how many years?
Yes, you can do that. So just think, how would you do that? So that should be a formula, and you can put the formula in the print statement. It will do the calculation. So just see where would you put the formula.
Something
That's
like this.
great. Yeah. And then comma years.
Syntax is right.
Yeah, this is right. Good. So that's how we can do the coding. So now you're getting that you can make the system do whatever you want it to do, right? So the results which are printed, the messages which are printed, that's totally in your hand. So it's you who decides what message should be printed. It's who you decides how the output should come on the screen. And accordingly we have to code. So the way we code, machine is just a machine. It has to execute that, right? Got with this? Okay, now there is one more thing in if, but I'm not burdening you with all that stuff because we have one more way of using if, that is nested if else. But I think we should not do it today, otherwise there'll be so many constructs in one class. So you can just practice using independent if. You can try your else if, that is Elif Ladder, and simple if else, where we have just two alternatives, like if the condition is true, do this, false, do this, right? So I'm just going to say a few programs which you could practice using these, and tomorrow we'll be doing nested if else, and we'll be practicing more programs and some complicated programs using conditions tomorrow, right? So meanwhile, for these three, what you can practice is you can input a number and check if that number is even or odd. So you have to take one number from the user and print if it is even or odd. Second could be you have to input three sides of a triangle and print whether the triangle is equilateral or non-equilateral, right? Third could be that you have to input the bill amount from the user, right? And we have to give some discount. But for the discount, it's not like a fixed percentage. I have to check if the bill amount is less than 1,000. Okay, so let's say if the bill amount is less than $100, we don't have to give any discount. But if it is between $100 to $500, I have to give 10% discount. If it is between $500 to $1,000, I have to give 20% discount. And for above $1,000, I have to give 30% discount, something like that. So 4 different conditions are there. So 4 margins for giving the discounts. And at the end, you need to print like discounted amount is this, and after the discount, you need to pay this much of amount, right? So there you can use the conditions. So try these 3 programs, or if you feel like experimenting something else with conditions, you can always do that. So any doubts you have from today's session?
No, I think best way to understand is to have more practices done.
Exactly.
Run small programs and try to understand how that works.
So more you code, you'll get more handy with programming. So it's like practice makes man perfect. It's not only a saying, but it's a fact. So do practice so that you get more interest in programming. And just tell me one thing, have you started enjoying Python?
Yes, it's fun.
So if you enjoy programming, you would learn faster. So that's it for today's session. I hope you all also understood the basic ways of checking conditions in Python. How do we use if, how do we use if else, and how do we use Elif Ladder. In case of any doubts, you can write down in the comments and we can discuss your doubts in the next upcoming sessions. And that's it for this video. By the time I upload more, keep watching, keep learning. Thank you.
इसको इवन ऑड में कैसे हो